Welcome to another edition of EYe on Education. I'm Ed Leash, your host, and today we're going to talk about an institution that is celebrating 60 years in Nashua this year. Can you believe it? From a small upstart school on Vine Street, then the former orphanage on Main Street, to their current campus on Lund Road, Bishop Guertin High School. And they're not standing pat, not resting on their laurels. Guertin is moving on to the next step in their educational, cultural, arts programs, and that is a $40 million capital campaign for a new athletic complex off Groton Road and a performing arts center on Lund Road. And the man that's been tasked with that charge is a person who's given a quarter of his life to Bishop Guertin High School as a student, athlete, coach, athletic director. And now he's back, and he is the go-to guy for this fundraiser, and that's Tony Johnson.
Thanks,
Coach. Great to see you.
Great seeing you. Great
You haven't
to be
changed.
Back. Well, I still have my hair.
Yeah, I remember you. I was calling your games.
That
And you
was,
still had that great hair then,
That
too.
was back in, when I played, it was in the 70s,
That's
in the
right.
early 70s.
That's
yeah.
right.
We go way back.
Yeah.
You look great, too.
You've seen a lot.
Seen a lot.
You've done a lot with Guertin. You left, but now you're back, and
Right.
you have what some might call a monumental task in raising these funds, primarily for the athletic complex, but they're also factoring in adding a performing arts facility down on Lund Road, where I guess the tennis courts are located.
Yeah, so we get, there's going to be 3 phases. The first phase is going to be the athletic complex. We purchased through, Brendan Keegan, the gift from, and it's got to be called the Keegan Family Athletic Complex. So we got the land, and it's 40 acres on Groton Road, and we're going to develop about 20 acres. And it's got to be 3 turf fields, a track around the turf field, 6 tennis courts, a couple of pavilions, some lights. It's going to be great, but it's got to be primarily for practice. So when we move the tennis out, that's going to free up the land for performing arts. And remember, there's a lot of kids, there's 60 to 70% of the kids, maybe even higher, that play athletics at Guertin, but there's also a good chunk in the arts. And so we've never really had great facilities for kids in the arts. So it is a passion of mine, because my son is a dancer and has been a dancer all of his life, and he still dances right now professionally. And I would love to see if we can get the Performing Arts Center on that spot at BG on Lund Road. And then the last piece, quite frankly, is increasing the endowment for kids of need. It's a passion of our president, Linda Broder. She wants to make sure that in the future that kids of need still have the opportunity to go to BJ. So that's her passion too. 60
years, and Guertin is still the premier, or one of the premier high schools in the Northeast.
Right.
Why? Why do you think it's continued to be as successful as they have been?
That's a great question. That's a phenomenal question. Guertin gets a lot of notoriety through its athletics. When we started, and I'll talk a little bit about athletics, when we started, Dick P. Pawlowski was the coach. He was the coach of multiple sports. We did relatively well in most sports when it was all guys. Economy hit, we had a merge. It kind of went into a little bit of a lull. We came into the 90s and we restructured and we got it going. And it's like anything athletically, when you get something going, it's like the business world. When you get something going, it can run by itself. You got to set the course and keep it in the direction you want to set it at and let it go. And that's what happened. And in football and in basketball and you name it, in most every sport. So when kids were looking at schools athletically, we really were the primary school in the region. The other thing is that Guertin is a border town, and we're right on the border. So we get probably 30% of our kids from Massachusetts, not because we're looking at Massachusetts, because it's closer. I grew up in Amherst, and a lot of my friends when I went to Guertin are from Draken and Lowell. It was closer for Draken and Lowell to BG than it was from Amherst. But they draw from probably about a 45-mile radius. And again, the other piece, more importantly than anything else, is the academics. The brothers established the academic curriculum, and they've never wavered. So academically, when you want a strong program, academically, Guertin really is the best institution in the area. There's no doubt about
And
that.
considering the decline in vocations,
Right.
The lay staff that has been brought in over the years has been able to continue following that model that the brothers laid down back when they started on Vine Street, on the old St. Louis church property, then moving to the orphanage, as I said at the beginning, and now to Lund Road, which is, well, the school's changed inside since you were there. There's been an addition to the new field house, and just the inside itself.
I was there when we built the Rodale Field House, but again, that was the necessary piece because when I was there, it was all guys. And we had one basketball court and 3 teams. And when we merged with Mount St. Mary, all of a sudden we had 6 teams. We had 1 locker room, but we had, 2 genders. So we really had to build it. This, in this situation right now, 60 years later, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, the one thing that I want to express is the city of Nashua has been a phenomenal community partner with BG. We have had the opportunity to use a lot of city facilities through the whole duration of the school. And we've been fortunate because without that, those programs would have struggled. Now we have an opportunity to finally kind of branch out, get our own practice facilities, kind of not use Mines Falls and a few others. But I just wanted to make sure that people realize we appreciate, from the city of Nashua, we appreciate the 60 years that we've had the opportunity to use their facilities. And we have, whether it's Holman Stadium or Stellos or some of the softball parks or Mines Falls, we've had the opportunity. So it's been a great relationship, and somewhere along the line, we want to give back to the city of Nashua too, and that's a big part of this whole thing.
And of course, having been the athletic director, you know that one rainout for any team that's playing, especially spring sports, when you probably have the multitude of outside activity, that causes a nightmare because of the limited number of fields the city has had. And thank God for Stellus.
Yes.
And in people, if they don't know, Bishop Guertin did contribute a pretty good chunk of money to one of the locker rooms there as part of the construction process.
And turf field.
You don't come empty-handed to the dance, if you will. And it's it's just evolved because there's more sports today too for both males and females.
And again, the whole emergence. Thank God for Jimmy Stellos. Holman Stadium was a great facility. It's called historic Holman because it is historic. But it kind of, it had its useful life, and then we really had to move. And again, the city of Nashua, when they built Stellus Stadium, they did it right. I mean, it's a beautiful facility. It seats 4,000 people or 4,500. It's turf. The three high schools, North, South, and Guertin, can all play there. They did it right. So again, we had the benefit of that. But when you have a team in spring, and all of a sudden you got a rain out, in the city of Nashua, we're all clamoring for the same space, so it's been very, very difficult. Hopefully now, and again, it's got to be through phases, the athletic piece, but we'll have the facility that we can at least practice on and potentially play. But the athletic complex right now is going to be probably about 80% practice oriented. We still love to play at Stellos, certainly for football and lacrosse and maybe soccer. And Holman for baseball too. So,
well, we're going to put a picture, the diagram of what's being proposed out on Groton Road for our viewers to take a look at. And one of the other additions that you don't have at Bishop Guertin now, because you do have the Elliott Field, but you don't have a track. And as a former track coach who had the best girls track team in 2008 in the state's history, if not Guertin's. How meaningful and important it is to have the track?
Well, it's, again, we will I always praise this. I praise my girls because the girls track program for about 8-10 years, whether it's indoor or outdoor track, they were the best. And we didn't have a track. We ran in the hallways indoors, and then when we went outdoors, we did use fairgrounds, but fairgrounds was a paved surface. Fairgrounds was the original track when I was at BG in the 70s. The kids, the high school team worked out at Fairgrounds, and we did too. And then when they built South, they just paved it over, so it was a paved track. So we really didn't have a track. So getting a track, is it's just a breath of fresh air. The other thing too is that people, I don't know if they remember, but we only had 3 tennis courts at BG, and to have a tennis match with only 3 courts it takes the match probably twice as long. We're going to build 6 tennis courts on this complex, so all of a sudden now we have places to practice. We would go around. When I was the athletic director, we were having teams practice again on city courts, not on Guertin courts, because we just had so many kids, and we had 2 teams. So it's an opportunity for the school really to finally get what they need and grow. And with the Performing Arts Center too, it's going to have that niche of kids. 30% of the kids now have a facility that they can use. So it's a new. It's I don't want to say it's a new era, but it is a new era for BG. And what I've been telling kids, and I've been telling alums when I'm talking to them, we've been practicing and playing on Elliott Field, which is really 1 field, 1.5 fields, for 60 years. Okay, 60 plus years. Now all of a sudden we build 3 turf fields, a track, more tennis courts. This facility itself should last at least 75, 100 years. So this is going to sustain BG for years to come, decades to come. So there's the picture. It's going to be called the Keegan Athletic Complex. Brendan Keegan, who's class of '87, and his wife Dana were extremely gracious in supporting this project. They are the lead gift in this project, and as you can see, it's going to be 3 turf fields, 1 big contiguous turf field, 6 tennis courts, a track around the other turf field, parking. There's got to be lights. There's got to be a cross-country course, or there's trails around it. It's a 40-acre piece of property, and we're going to develop about 20 acres. So as you can see, it's in the big contiguous fields. It's got to be soccer in the fall, and then baseball, softball in the spring, and lacrosse in the spring. And then the track and the turf around the track is going to be probably, I would imagine it's going to be field hockey in the fall with some JV and freshman games with football, and then in the spring it's got to be lacrosse. Now the good thing is that you can see the tennis courts. We have 6 tennis courts with a pavilion, and what's going to happen is when we move the tennis courts from Bishop Guertin and move them to the Keegan Athletic Complex, that's going to free up the space for a performing arts center on our campus. So it's going to be a great project. It's going to take some time, but as you can see, it's exciting.
And the new field will have lights, and
Yes.
Elliott does not have lights.
Right.
And going back to my officiating days and some of those JV games, especially this time of the year,
Right.
It got a little challenging
Right.
as you got into the 4th quarter,
Right.
and dusk had arrived, and
Right.
and again, the field got used over and over and never had a chance to regurgitate, if you will.
Right.
So that was a concern, safety issues.
Yes.
And so now that'll alleviate the activity there.
It can breathe.
And, in addition to the fields, are you going to have any buildings at this new facility, or?
We're going to have a couple pavilions. I don't think we're going to build an actual locker room because, again, most of the teams will be practicing there. But we've got to have a couple pavilions. With inclement weather coming in, there's got to be some places for kids to go. So, but there'll be some maintenance facilities for tractors and things like that. Again, it's exciting. I actually did meet with David Elliott, and David Elliott was concerned about his father's field because Larry Elliott is an institution at BG. And I said, David, here's the good news. I said, your dad's field will still stay, in perpetuity. I said, the good news is that in the spring, it's finally going to breathe. See, for years, in the last few years of football, we had over 125, 130 kids in the football program with 4 programs. We had the field hockey team trying to practice there, and some of the soccer programs, but they would go down the Mines Falls. Then in the spring, Coach Cameron has built a dynasty in lacrosse, and at one point we had 4 male programs for lacrosse and 3 female programs on the side. So there were 7 teams in the spring practicing on Elliott Field. So I told David, I said, the good news is that in the spring, all of those lacrosse programs can go to Keegan Family Field. So it gives your dad's field an opportunity to breathe and just, as you said, regurgitate and just kind of come back in the fall when we need it.
It was just like Holman back in the day. It was getting so much use that you couldn't really keep the field up to where it needed to be.
Right.
And then with the advent of the baseball team, it really is a baseball stadium.
Right.
And Nashua needed a field, and I agree with you. They did do Stellus right.
Right.
And it's served and is serving the community well. So what does the timeline look like in terms of where this thing is going, and what are you looking at to break ground? And you've launched the financial piece with the Keegan family donation, but where we go from here?
So the athletic, what I think is going to happen, again, there's 3 pieces. There's the athletic performance and there's the endowment. The athletic piece probably is going to be the first piece. We're hoping to break ground probably July of 2024. It's probably going to be in 2 or 3 phases, depending on donations and things like that, the contributions. But what we're hoping to do is break ground in July 2024, and there's one 400 by 400 contiguous turf field. We want to get that finished with the lights. And then we've got a couple potential donors for the track, and then build the turf field around the track. And that will be the second phase. The third phase probably will be the tennis courts. The tennis courts may be the second phase. What we want to do, quite frankly, is that as soon as we move those tennis courts, we're going to start that performing arts. So, and we've got a lot of people, a lot of alums that are very, very passionate about the arts. So that's fun talking to them about it, because again, Guertin's always been known athletically, and they forget that we've got a lot of pretty good people. Michael Malley is one of them. That is pretty well known in Hollywood. So, but anyways, the athletic piece is going to probably be in 3 phases, and then and it's probably going to be 3 years. And then the performing arts is probably going to be obviously in 1 phase when we get the money for that. The foundation piece is going to be continuous. Now, I firmly believe that this is going to take 3 to 5 years. This is a major college capital campaign, and we've got over 7,000 alums, and a lot of people have kind of laughed at the number. And it is a concern. There's absolutely, it's a big, huge number. It's a college campaign, but I think we do have it in our alumni base. I firmly believe that we have it in our alumni base. And every day I have the opportunity to make calls to new alums, in addition to kids that I've coached and everything else, and I knew in the 70s and everything else. And it's fun. Everybody's excited about it. Everybody realizes this is what we need for the school to continue for the next century, decades to come. We need to do this, and everybody knows that this is going to benefit, my kids' kids. That's how long that this campaign should last, as far as the facilities are concerned.
You mentioned Michael Malley. You got a couple other famous alums, Mike Lupica.
Yeah, got
and
Lupica.
Those who listen to WEEI in Boston, the Glen Hill show, is Courtney Cox, who people may not realize went to Bishop Guertin High School.
We've got.
You've got some people out there who could help. So not only step up financially, but you might be able to put some kind of a program together to have a little fundraiser.
Well, Ed Davis.
That's right.
Ed Davis
that's
is
right.
is
Former
a
chief in
BJ.
Lowell, and then
Ted Phillips. I mean,
Teddy Phillips and well, we don't want to talk about the Bears. I guess the Patriots are just as bad. So
right.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about Teddy. He's done well, and and there are others too.
Right.
I mean, really, over 60 years, there's quite a plethora of folks, as well as performers,
Right.
who have gone on to make their name.
The fun thing for me is seeing kids that I coached in the business world now being very successful. And again, it's not the money aspect. It's what they're doing and how they're doing it, and the influence that they have on other people. And I've always told the kids when I was coaching and when I was trying to place them in college, don't make the money the motivator. Do what you're passionate about. If you're really good at it, you'll eventually make some money, but you're going to live the life that you want to live. And it's been fun. I mean, I make a lot of phone calls, and right now I'm in the cultivation phase. I'm just on the phones, talking to kids, talking to alums, and asking for more names, and kind of reminiscing. I mean, tonight I'm going to be going out with a bunch of guys from 1973. Ooh. Yeah, so some old timers, and which I'm one of them.
First year of the Guertin Nashua Turkey Bowl.
Right, exactly. So, and that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's hopefully going to be about 6 or 7 people. Guertin has a number of different alumni groups that get together. My brother's year, which is 76, they get together probably on a bi-monthly basis.
Okay.
There's some good, really good groups, but there's some really good eras. But we do have a tremendous alumni base that has done very, very well, and I firmly believe that we will achieve that number. But it's going to take time. There's going to be 1,500, 2,000 donors for this, and it is going to take a little bit more time than people expect. But I firmly believe that we're going to meet our goal.
People watching us today, how can they help if they want to make a donation? Where should it go? And
everything's online, and if they want to make a donation, it's on the BGS website, which is bghs.org. Go under advancement. Under advancement, you'll see the capital campaign. The future is now. That's the title of it, and you can make a pledge there. In addition to that, if you just want more information, call me. Send me an email. And I will talk, and people know me. You've known me for a long time. I do talk, but it's a good story. It's a really, really good story. And so, and again, what I'm doing right now is I'm meeting with alums, and I'm just kind of going over it and showing them the plans and talking about. And there are a lot of questions. All the alums have a lot of questions. I mean, quite frankly, when I'm talking to some of the athletic alums, the question is, are we ever going to get the football Turkey Bowl back? What's happening with that? So, and again, because I was an AD and I was a coach and I was inside the school, I've got some knowledge to it. But people just want to get updated. But if we just want to talk, call me. Send me an email. I'll come down to your house. I'll come to your office. I'll come on the station. I'd love to talk about it because it's a program that is going to really benefit kids literally for decades and centuries.
Well, you certainly have the right guy for the job. You still have the passion you had when you played, when you coached.
Thank you.
And like I say, a quarter of your life you've devoted to Bishop Guertin and the programs over there, and you're to be committed for that. And I know you're going to be successful on this, Tony.
Well, I appreciate it. It's a great school. I'm working with a lot of good people. There's a lot of great alums, and I'm fortunate. I've always felt fortunate, and I think I was in the right place at the right time. When I came back to BG, because I actually started out, as coach, and I was in college, and Dick called me and said, "Hey, you want the job?" And I'm like, but I think I was in the right place at the right time. But I've had a lot of great kids. I've had a lot of great families. There are a lot of great alums. So I'm very, very appreciative of what Guertin has done for my life.
The future is now. Capital campaign for Bishop Guertin High School's new athletic facility and Performing Arts Center, as well as the continued support for the foundation to aid students who want to attend Guertin. Our guest has been Tony Johnson. You've been watching EYe on Education. I'm Ed Leish's your host, and we'll see you next time.